first off. So I didn't like do any keys, like was one of the last things that I added in to like kind of fill in that section. But I was like, no, like every time I write, I was going through a period of my life where I'm just like, everything I write just like sounds like it should be slow. And like, I'm like, I cannot touch the piano. I think that's making me like stay in this like environment. So yeah, like I knew I wanted the thing, like rhythmic sense. And in terms of like the guitars, I think everything about like the details and the textures, I wanted each piece to kind of reflect like my own like personal story. I had not really produced something that was this big sounding yet for myself. And I was like, all right, like I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna like rationalize choosing these samples based on like words. So like saying like, oh, trashy. So like trash can, or like recording like the Mac, like dragging things into the trash. Like that's like, that's cute.
That's what that sound was. That's hilarious.
Yes.
I was like, this does sound like the trash. Why does it sound like the trash?
It literally was. Yeah, it was. And it wasn't like a good sample either. I probably put my like computer speaker and like recorded like from my phone and like sent it back to my computer. And
amazing. Yeah.
Just like little things like that where I'm just like, no one will really care, but like just me knowing like, this is my computer trash. Like nice. Just gets me chuckling. So that was my process for that.
Yeah, love it. There were just so many elements there that I'm like trying to remember what was what, but the ear candies were super cool. I guess any other interesting ear candy pieces besides the trash can?
The guitar solo is like one of my favorite moments in the song, and my friend Mark, we did that in his apartment, and after like drinking like 3 double IPAs, and I was like, I want this to be really, really extra, because this song is about my ex, who was also a guitarist and was a really good one. And I was like, I just feel like this is like a salute to him, because being like, you know what, like I don't need you, and I'm gonna add a guitar solo. Like I've never added a guitar solo in any of my songs before, and I was like, this is like my like bow, my little present to you that I can do this. Like I didn't record this guitar, but like it's gonna be a little moment.
It made the cut.
Yeah.
It's really cool sound also.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that was like one of those like vocal, you just took a vocal and you processed it underneath there right before, in that transition right into the guitar solo. There's some vocal thing happening.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Lots of like, before I decided there was going to be a vocal solo, I was like thinking that the bridge was going to be a lot of like a repeating phrase of some sort. So I probably recorded like 3 or 4. I was like, this is going to be the chanting bridge part. And it's still there, but instead of like being front and center, I was like, people have heard me already for like a minute and a half. So they need a break from me yelling. So I was like, let's just push these to the sides. Let's like distort them and like filter them out and just like make it a wallpaper, a very pretty like sparkly wallpaper, instead of just being like another like vocal thing. But that came from that. Like the textures were supposed to be front and center vocals that became just like things that I wanted as like furniture instead.
Got it. I also heard a lot of like formant shifting your voice down. I'm assuming it's your voice.
Yes.
Like to sound like almost like a man, like underneath like your lead vocal, which was also sounded really dope.
Yes, yeah. How I like to imagine it is like, I think I wanted the song to feel like at least like the lower formant shifted octave below vocals. Like I wanted those background vocals to kind of feel like, it's like my hype man. Like the first lyric, I'm like, back in Raleigh, like there's like a team of people cheering me on as I'm like putting this guy on blast. And like kind of like sometimes like choices, especially in vocals, I like to think of it as something that, even if it's synthetic, like something that could translate in a live setting, like, oh, like this would be funny. Like having someone do that on stage and treating like the vocal parts as if they were like a real choir, but not processing them that way.
Yeah, totally. Love it. Well, it sounds awesome, and your songs are really great, and I wish you continued success and just keep at it, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you, I guess, some more like generalized questions that I ask most people on the show. Creative energy. Sometimes we have days where we're just not as hyped to get in the studio as other days. How do you stay pumped to be an artist, be in the studio? Or do you have any like specific routines or things that you do?
Ooh, routines is the way to go for me. I run every day, or I always have to have some sort of like physical exercise, like whenever I can. Definitely have off days, but on most days, like running, like even just a mile, like just like puts my brain in like a good space. Like I feel like I can think a lot clearer. And living in Brooklyn, I go on walks a lot. I live close to a park, and my favorite thing to do is just like walk in circles and like put my headphones on. And some days when I don't want to make music, I make sure it's like a day, like if I spend any amount of time appreciating art or appreciating some sort of song, it doesn't feel like it's time wasted. I think part of like creating, like you can only create based on like your vocabulary and the things that you are excited about and you love. So I think I also spend just as much time trying to find songs that I just love and finding more songs that I like would go to bat for and would make my entire personality. And I think like definitely having at least like one day out of a whole week to not feel like I have to make anything, but feel like I should take a walk and just like put on like a playlist or put on like songs that I don't know, or put on like an album that I really, really love and like listen just intently, like, and think about why I like the song. And just like, enjoying music that way, I think makes me more excited to create again.
Nice. So you actually take like a day off every week to kind of just do this.
Oh yeah. I think like, and that day off can be is like random. Like sometimes it's like, I used to be like, oh, weekends, but sometimes weekends end up becoming working weekends, and sometimes the day off is just a Wednesday.
Totally.
But yeah.
Nice. I definitely feel that. I mean, I take time. I mean, I observe the Jewish Sabbath. So me taking a day off is like, that keeps me in the zone,
Yeah.
Which is, like I need that time away, but I'm not listening to music, I guess. But maybe I need another day off that I spend just listening to some music,
Yeah. Or just art, shows, movies. I definitely like those. Same thing.
Anything. Yeah. Like all arts kind of inform what you do, not necessarily just music.
Yes.
There's a lot of that in Brooklyn, I'm sure. Hopefully starting again. Yeah, amazing. So this is kind of like a question I ask everybody who's been on the show.
Yes, please.
But is there something that you would tell your earlier self, at the very beginning of your career that you maybe did or didn't do, like now that you've been down a journey, looking back on yourself, hey, like keep at this, or maybe don't do that. Is there a piece of advice that you would tell yourself back in the earlier you?
I think I would ask myself more often. I don't think there's anything that I would change. I think everything, the succession of how I came to do certain things, I think is correct. But I wish I asked myself, like, why is it so important for you or for this outcome to happen? And I feel like in different stages of like my music career, I have put certain things on like on a higher like pedestal, or I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but like before I was like, oh, like I need these people to like my music, and whether that's like professors or like certain students like in the school that like I felt like I needed to impress. Like I wish I asked why. Like, why is it important for you to get like the claps and the likes from these people? Because I feel like my whole life there's, the face changes, but it's still the same kind of like person or people in my life. And I just think it would have served me well to question it, because I probably wouldn't have changed. Like I probably would still like really desperately want to impress like these professors or these peers. But then I would at least know like, okay, you are trying really hard to make music that sounds like this, because like these people, like you have to spend so much time with them, or they hold the keys to whether you stay, you keep your scholarship, like understanding like, okay, this is not real life. Like this is not like how the rest of the world thinks. And I think just having that awareness of like, not just like judging my music and just blindly being like, oh, I need these people to approve of this music, could have really allowed me to be free with how I created music, how I performed, and even what I did. I think like I didn't even think about, releasing an album or an EP or even a single while I was like in school, which now I'm like, that's ridiculous. I should have just like done it. I should have just felt like I could. But I think that there was so much waiting because I thought like, well, it wasn't good enough for these people. And I think just a moment of questioning that could have allowed me to move forward a little bit quicker, I think.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, as I'm a self-described people pleaser.
Yeah.
Oldest child kind of vibe.
I'm also eldest child.
Hey,
I get that.
all right, we could like high five. Totally. Yeah. As like a people pleaser myself. And I also get in my head about like, oh, I need to make sure that I'm good enough for this person, or, whoever it is in the context that it is. Sometimes it's as a bass player, sometimes it's as a music producer. Like there's like one person in mind, like I don't want to screw it up for this person, like I want to, and it's just, I think, I don't know, something that I've been learning over the course of doing this show and doing interviews is like, like having the confidence to do it yourself and just be like, no, I'm going for this. This is who I am. I know how to do this. And it's hard because we all have imposter syndrome, or we're afraid of what one person specifically might think of it. And it's just, something that I've been kind of hearing from you also throughout this conversation is like, doubling down on yourself and doing what you do. I think that's super important, and a lesson I'm still trying to learn myself. So I totally feel what you're saying. So yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, well, what's next for Anlay / êMIA? Like, what's in the works? What's happening?
So many things. I have definitely. I've finished my album. I have all the songs, but at the moment, more songs are being written, and I feel like at this point, I've gone on so many blog interviews where I'm like, yeah, the album's coming out at this time, and just like giving a random date and not really committing to it. And I think for whatever reason, like the past like month and a half or so, like as the world is opening up, I kind of realized, strangely enough, like taking a step back from releasing so much, and just kind of thinking about exactly what kind of story, again, like rethinking like the narrative for the album now that like we're out of quarantine and I've had a lot of like growth personally, just rewriting what I thought was the final story that I wanted to tell. And that's, a lot of workshopping. So I'm still in that headspace. And luckily it's not so much music wise, but visuals and marketing and all of that. So thinking about that. And I'm currently working on a couple of like collaborations. One with this artist named Dobie, who is incredible, and one with my friend Charlie. We're working on just a lot of songs, and we're hoping to create it for this like project that we want to do together. And yeah, I just constantly writing more and trying to be a part of other people's worlds and taking a couple of souvenirs